Welcome to Caserta's Data Intelligence Series. In this series, we talk about what it takes to go from a good data and analytics leader to a great one. We'll share with you the tools and methodologies you need to build better, faster, and more robust, as well as strategies and frameworks to generate more revenue and grow your business. Featuring some very special guests and experts to inspire you and give you advice and direction on your data journey. And now, introducing your host, Caserta Data and Analytics Evangelist and VP Marketing, Remy Rosenbaum.
Hey there, and welcome to Caserta's Data Intelligence webinar series, and I'm your host, Remy Rosenbaum. Today we have an interesting topic. We're going to talk about your 2021 data and analytics roadmap and how to validate your assumptions and execute faster. A lot of our clients first come to us with challenging business questions that they need to solve. And it starts with their assumptions that they need to validate. Which tech stack are they using? What is their analytics maturity? How feasible are the projects that they want to do? And to answer these questions, I've brought together today two excellent presenters. First up, we have Aileen Blass. And Aileen is our senior data strategist. She has spent much of her career collaborating with business leaders to develop data strategies that support business objectives. And then we have Brent Walter, who is a sales engineer with us and has worked with clients across a broad range of regulated industries, from financial services to healthcare and research. Brent, take it away.
Hey everyone, so welcome to today's webinar. So we've themed this webinar. We've taken a bit of a nautical theme on this particular webinar to walk you through some of the challenges that we see our clients facing every day when we start out on projects. And what we want to do in this session is walk you through the way that we approach resolving some of these issues, surfacing assumptions, challenging those assumptions, and making sure that we get all stakeholders on board with our solution and our general direction. So for the first part of the webinar, I'm going to pass off to Aileen, who's going to handle a bit of an introduction to our matter. Then I'm going to come back and have a little bit of a talk, and then Aileen's going to walk you through a really interesting case study. So Aileen, if you'd like to take it away.
Great, thank you, Brent. So welcome everyone. I'm going to say it because I just love to say it over and over again. 2020 is over. So the great thing about that is we got a year behind us, but what's built up now is this backlog of projects, of ideas, of activities that people want to embark on, right? So we all said, oh, when COVID's over, Well, we're coming out, we're starting to recover. So what we want to talk about today is how some really good strategic and tactical ideas for how to take those assumptions, those ideas, and really launch them forward and get moving on the right track right now. So that's where we're going to start right now. I mean, you can read 100 articles, and we've got one quoted here that Wall Street Journal said, CIOs are expecting tech investments to climb in 2021. And I know we're seeing that already loud and clear just in the first 20 business days of 2021. Business are picking up nationwide. So let us talk about how you can be one of those people who's transitioning out of recovery and into that leadership role where your company needs to be. So like Brent said, we've got a little bit of a nautical theme just to keep it a little more interesting. One of the things we want to talk about is strategy. So everyone knows you need a strategy. Strategies are one way to help make sure you're looking at the big picture to get from where you are today to where you're going. And it's critical. So understanding where you're trying to go to take your company, your program, your data strategy, that is so critical. And that's what keeps you, if you've got that North Star, that distant point on the horizon that you're tracking towards, that keeps you on a straight and narrow path. It doesn't, however, help you with everything. So knowing where you're going is one great step, but you've got to watch out for all those pitfalls, all those challenges, the unexpected that pops up. Otherwise, you end up missing dates, missing expectations, or worse, with project failure. So if you think about, there's this classic story that as you head off the eastern seaboard of the United States and head over to Europe, just a couple degrees off course, and you're going to find yourself missing Europe altogether and ending up in the Arctic Circle. So how do we help you not end up in the Arctic Circle? The biggest challenge is what I was just talking about is that it's not necessarily just the strategy. It's not going to be enough. So it's what you can't see along the way. And what our team does and what Caserta is really, really good at is helping those organizations see, find those blind spots, those places where you are exposed to risk or to potentially project failure. And this works especially well in part because we're outsiders coming in, looking in. So sometimes having a team or a program that's run wholly by internal individuals, you miss seeing some of those pieces that you just become accustomed to. They're actually going to be risks for your project. So what we do is we help you identify what are some of those risks. We help make sure that you've got the right people in the room at the right time. And the reason that's so important, right? Everybody knows you need your stakeholders. But the reason that's so important early on, as you're getting your program kicked off, is if you're missing some of the right people, you're missing a little bit of where you're trying to go. You're missing some of the pieces along the way that people are expecting to have delivered. So that's where you find out your expectations that people have. And you're also missing some insights on, from other individuals where those challenges, risks, and really roadblocks may come into play. So this is so important. One of the other places where we're very good at helping organizations is helping you identify if you have some artificial constraints in your planning. So what's a great example of that? Technology. A lot of organizations, as they plan out their future, it's based on where they already are from a tech stack perspective, which is good. You want to be able to leverage what you've invested in to a degree. Caserta consultants are highly engaged in learning new technologies, being aware of where the industry is going. So having that outside view help you understand what technology you have today that makes sense to leverage, keep moving forward, and which pieces you need to let go of and grab onto these new technologies, in large part because they help you move faster and more efficiently. So that's what a lot of the new technologies do. And we help make sure that you're not artificially constraining yourselves to what your team already knows and what you've already been trained on. And one of the last big pieces is we help right-size a project. So if you look out, many projects fail because they're too big. They tried to boil the ocean. It's too much to pull in. Or just as damaging is if your project, the initial phases or the initial deliverables are too small and it's hard to demonstrate the value and keep the momentum to keep that program running. So it becomes a challenge on both ends. And these are challenges that we've seen time and time again. I mean, over and over again, this is fairly common. And like so many things, it's easy to see it when you're on the outside looking in. So if we start to talk about how do you move forward, I'm going to let Brent take over from here and tell you a little bit about kind of the Caserta methodology and big pieces that he's seen in his many years as well.
Sure. Thanks very much for that, Aileen. So, we're very big proponents at Caserta of starting out the analysis of any project with a really honest diagnostic process, and this is to work out, exactly where you are, both in terms of your maturity, your technical capabilities, but also looking at the risks and the benefits of a particular project, sort of free from some of the internal politics that can get in the way. So, every project has a champion, every champion has an agenda. And it's really important for sponsors of projects to get a perspective from the outside that sort of shows where the risks that they can be blind to are lurking. But we also, as Aileen has explained, we also get involved a lot with understanding your current technology landscape and figuring out, what the roadmap looks like from your current from your current technologies to future technologies. And we orient that to ensure that the path is as smooth as possible. So we'll look at where your skills are located. We'll look at what preferences. So say, for example, if you're a .NET shop, we'll look for the patterns that best fit your existing skill sets, but align you to where new technology is going, and make sure that your overall solution is sort of very mindful of being future-proofed. We also work really, really hard to architect solutions that are right-sized and that can be delivered incrementally. And this is really critically important and so often overlooked. So any project that involves a high IT spend, and particularly data projects and particularly with data projects, there's always a hump that you need to get over before value becomes really visible. But it's important to make sure that that hump is as small as it possibly can be. And the reason for that is that you need momentum to realize, a roadmap that might actually take you 3 or 4 years, 3, 4 or 5 years to realize. And the sooner that you're able to deliver value, the sooner that you're able to give confidence to your stakeholders that you're on the right track, and that your project is in fact valuable to the business, and is accountable. And key to doing this is really sort of articulating the feasibility of both the technical feasibility, but also the business value of the initiatives that you want to undertake. And I've got a graphic that's coming up that sort of walks through the way that we approach this particular problem to identify a continuous stream of business value. So it's also really important to, and I think I've just spent a little bit of time talking about this already, but it's really important to align to what your current realities are. And that means being cognizant of your immediate business needs. So, it's all good and well to have a plan that sees you develop, advanced AI capabilities and advanced data science capabilities sometime in 5 years. But that's really not going to help the business if 700 or 800 hours are being spent at the end of every month to close the books, right? And where some simple, straightforward automations might be a means of really sort of relieving that pressure on other parts of the business. And so when we're thinking about designing a program, and when we're going through and we're figuring out where the assumptions around value lie, what we try to do is arrange our initiatives and arrange our priorities so that so that low-hanging fruit can really be leveraged to demonstrate value back to the business, while we're still driving forward with a much more strategic vision. So what that might look like in practice is that some small foundational components might be designed into your program, and then we get into solving some of the more tactical issues that the business is facing, and then after that we do a course correction and come back to the more strategic program to make sure that that you continue down the right path. And the way that we do that, we use a device that we like to call the risk and feasibility matrix. And what all that this graphic does is it sort of shows how we'll go through each of your initiatives, we go through each of the initiatives, and we calculate a business value. So we figure out with you a rubric for how we calculate value. We assign business value to each initiative. And then we go through and we look really hard at what the technical feasibility is. And technical feasibility here means things like the availability of data. It means things like the skills to be able to manipulate that data. It means whether the data is arriving on time and is arriving in a timely fashion to be able to affect the solution. And whether dependent technologies and predecessor technologies that are necessary to deliver the solution are in place, and what the procurement timeline looks like, for example. And what we do is we put all of this together, and we're able to sort of map out where that low-hanging fruit is in a really systematic way. And that's what the top right-hand corner of this matrix identifies here. So, after going through this process, we're able to say, look, we've got four really high value initiatives that we should schedule first in our program. And we know that we can do that because by going through and doing the technical feasibility analysis, we've confirmed all of the assumptions that are necessary to be able to deliver those particular programs and really start demonstrating value back to the business. And when you're engaging a third-party partner to deliver either an assessment type project or a diagnostic type project, it's really important to know what the outputs of that process are going to be. And here we've just got some diagrammatic representations of the kinds of products that we typically would deliver as part of our diagnostic type processes. So we have a strategic assessment and a roadmap, and that's where we go through and we do gap analyses. We look for opportunities inside of the business. We build up our business cases and document them. We build out a roadmap, and we also do a lot of work around staff organization and also program costs and budgeting. And then next to that, you really need a comprehensive a technical reference architecture that describes both where you are now, where you want to go, or at least where you should go, and the order in which you need to adopt technologies in order to align to the roadmap that you've designed out of the risk and feasibility, the feasibility matrix. So I'm going to pass back to Aileen now to walk you through a real world case study of how we've done this.
Terrific, thanks, Brent. Okay, so what I did wanted to just make sure we walk through this case study to take, I think, all of what Brent just described and to kind of put it into context that hopefully a lot of you can relate to. So we had a previous client who was a managed healthcare group that came to us looking for some assistance. And their problem that they had in front of them was that they had a lot of transactional data. So remember, this is medical transactional data, so highly detailed and a lot of security issues with them. They needed to move that from their vendor's location post-transaction, so all the data warehouse type, over into their cloud. So customer setting up a cloud environment, moving all this, creating basically a data warehouse in the cloud with their healthcare data. And the reason they're doing that is they want to have control of their own data, and they also need to be sure that they had the ability to meet all the regulatory reporting requirements that they had in front of them, as well as a lot of growing internal requests for reporting. So they're trying to do some research on the data that they have, change the way they're handling some of their patient care. So a lot of demand for data. And the challenge they were up against was that their executive team had been through this before. Their last major data program that they had tried to put in place was a failure for a lot of reasons. And they had a few new players in place now and were ready to embark. But there was a lot of angst and anxiety from the executive team about doing anything that was going to take long, so that they were concerned they would be down this path again of spending a lot of time and money with minimal results. So then that's why they brought us in to help. And really their ask when we were brought in was to help them kind of validate what they were basically planning for their warehouse. They thought they got that part under control, and they would just need a little bit of help getting their data and reporting analytics platform set up and a program in place. So we were brought in to help them with that initiative. And what happened was we got in and we quickly found things that our client just couldn't see. They were too close to it. Some things that were really significant for them. So one was when we did a quick assessment of their data coming in as we prepared it for the reporting and analytics, we identified some major data quality issues that were happening post-transaction as it was transformed by the vendor into their data warehouse. So these were data quality issues that they were not aware of and would have found out at some point in this program. This is about a 2-year program that they were embarking on. And as all of you know, the later you find a problem like that, the more it costs you and the bigger impact it has to project timelines and budget. So we're able to identify those upfront and then start to put together a plan to remediate that. We also figured out quickly with them, because of these data quality issues, they weren't staffed with the right skills to handle the whole project. While they had people who knew the technology that they were using, they weren't sophisticated and seasoned enough to handle the data quality issues that they had and the rapid pace and volume of the data coming at them. So we helped them, again, put together a plan for upskilling their existing staff and then to fill some gaps where they just needed to have additional persons on the team. We also quickly learned, again, that they just didn't know, because there was such angst from their last project, how disjointed the executive team members were in terms of what they thought this program would do for them. So what the project lead and sponsor thought this project was going to do, and what the chief medical officer thought and the chief strategy officer, were not even close to being the same. 50% overlap, and another 50% were off in other directions. So that, as most of you, if you've been down this road of a project, you know, when you're halfway down a project and you find out that one of your key stakeholders is expecting something that you're not going to deliver, your project starts to get deemed a failure. Or you're doing a very expensive change in direction, shifting priorities to try to fit their needs in. So we were able to walk through all these and find these pieces, because we came in and after just a couple of meetings with them, we recommended that we run our diagnostic process with them. And that brought to light a lot of these major issues that we had. And one of their biggest issues that they really had was they didn't have a data strategy. So while they were moving their data from one location to the cloud and creating some reporting, what it highlighted was all the other expectations coming from the executive committee that weren't going to be met because it wasn't part of a comprehensive strategy. So we helped them build this strategic roadmap out of all the expectations from the executive team members, using that feasibility matrix like Brent was showing you, to help them plot them all out, which was a great visual to explain to this broad executive committee of, here's all the things you guys are asking for and looking for. And here's things that are easy to do, the low-hanging fruit we're going to pick off soon. Here are ones that are super critical from a mission perspective that have to get done sooner rather than later. We use that as the input really to the roadmap to help them build out in what order they would deliver the business value. So there were kind of two pieces at play. One was the technology, right? We've got to move the data, build the warehouse, get it ready for reporting. Those are the tech pieces. But more importantly was we overlaid for that executive committee where along the way their incremental value was going to be seen. So where the chief medical officer would have the research data available that he was expecting, when the CFO would have the regulatory reporting that she was expecting, when the chief strategy officer would have the data he needed to make the change to their population base and the way that they're doing their billing. Those pieces we were able to overlay on for them on this 2-year roadmap to help them understand what could happen, and also just really what didn't fit in anymore because it just became too big. So this is just one example of how Kaseira was able to come in, be the eyes that are needed really upfront to do that planning, while we help you deliver on a roadmap that meets expectations, delivers value along the way, which is so critical, and then gets you where you're going in the end, not leaving you up in the Arctic Circle. So that's a big kind of the walkthrough of where the challenges are, and then what we recommend from an approach and why it's so important, and then just an example for you of real life world where this actually all came to play. And then Remy, don't know if we've got some questions from the audience out there.
I think Remy may be having some technical
audio
troubles.
issues.
We'll just give him a moment. Sorry about that, everyone.
I thought it was me.
Does this work?
Yes.
Here we go, Remy.
All right, I apologize. So I was saying, I made all these nautical references. I'll try to do it again. Thank you for steering us on our journey away from murky and choppy waters and into smooth sailing. And if we need some more wind in back of our sails, everyone, I invite you all to ask our excellent presenters questions in the questions panel on your right, and we will get to them. We have a few questions already that we can start with. All right. The first is, let me just paraphrase this. We have already started working on a major data initiative, which is great, but I'm in marketing and have data needs now. How can we take care of today's needs without creating any throwaway work?
So one of the things that makes our engagements and our assessment process, so successful is that, we're in constant motion, right? So like you, we're in constant motion. And we really want to help, you do the same. We're all about actions. We're all about action and results, because at the end of the day, it's results that matter. And so, in a situation where you've already got a program that's up and running, and where you're trying to avoid throwaway work, it's just important for a partner that you come in to do this kind of diagnostic to respect where you are, and to align the program of work that you've got going right now, to the recommended future direction. You really shouldn't need to encounter any throwaway work at all, particularly in the longer run. And we've done this with multiple clients, and it really helps build confidence, both with the teams that are already executing, but also with the management teams, that the people that they've hired are the right people.
Aileen, did you want to chime in on that, or I saw you were eager to say something?
Yeah, I think just to align with what Brent said, one of the big pieces about that concept of throwaway work is we help identify what technologies make sense for you to leverage and continue on with, and which ones really need an upgrade. But also, we respect what you have in place from a process perspective and people perspective as well, and we incorporate those into the roadmap and the strategic outlook. So it's not a put aside and do it this one right way. It's do it the one right way for your organization. And I think one of the, an easy example is so many of our clients in the past have used Excel as one of their major management tools. And we have built in ways through our roadmap to not disregard that level of energy and time and confidence people have in their Excel spreadsheets, but to actually use that as a stepping stone and transition people off of that as time goes on, not a hard stop and a switch over that causes angst, but more of an evolution that creates confidence as people go, and their ability to use these new tools that are so much more sophisticated and saves them a ton of time, but when they're ready.
Yes, an excellent point. Cultural shock is definitely one of the reasons that these projects do fail. Which brings us into our next question. Who should own this? The question asked is, who should ask or sponsor an assessment? Is it more the IT or the business side? Or both?
Yeah, really both. So either can. And the reason I think it's an interesting question to have asked is, traditionally IT organizations have been the ones to go forth and find an IT consulting data group to help them out. But we found as time moves on, we're also finding marketing is a big piece, and our medical offices are from healthcare perspective, because they're the consumers of the data. So what they're looking for is someone to help make sure they're on the right path from a business perspective, but also they're kind of doing a little check and balance to make sure their IT group isn't getting stuck in that old technology, old way, that they're really forward thinking as well. So having a group come in like a Caserta that recognizes the business side and the business efforts that are in play, as well as the technology, I think is a good balance, which is why we have worked with both sides, both the business and the IT perspective, really to find value, because we know how to straddle that line pretty well.
All right, and we have time for just one last question. We're trying to keep these virtual presentations short, as we all know everyone's schedules are very busy. The last one is, what is special about the Caserta diagnostic effort?
Yeah, I could probably answer that one.
Yeah, I bet you can.
So I think firstly, what's special about it is the number of times that we've that we've rolled out our particular methodology for helping our clients out. We've done this upwards of 100 times, and we've got a team that's really experienced and knows how to execute this. We really know how to spot the icebergs and spot the icebergs and spot those icebergs early, so that we can bring them to your attention and help your teams to start digging down and really sort of understanding the complexity of some of the issues that are so often lurking below the surface. And the case study that Aileen walked you through is a classic example. Data quality issues are the killer of any data project, and they're something that you want to surface as soon as possible, and you can only do that through systematic data profiling and through doing deep dives both into business process but also into business data and understanding the complexities of the flows and the dependencies between the systems that are materializing those data in reporting repositories. The other thing that's kind of special about the way that we do things is that we focus on generating roadmaps that are really truly actionable, that are detailed and actionable and broken out so that the whole enterprise can understand where we are, where we're going, and how we're going to get there, and when certain initiatives are going to be delivered. We're also vendor and cloud agnostic, and this is super important. We don't have we don't have a dog in the fight between GCP, AWS, Microsoft, whether you're using Informatica or whether you're moving to code. We're all about trying to orient you to the right set of solutions that are right for you, given your skills, your organization, the available skills, and the investment that you're looking to make, and the direction that you want to go. Pardon me. And then we also work really hard to right-size the solutions and right-size the solution and the project that's delivering it, so that we can make sure that we're delivering value all the way through the program. And I think the other thing that's really special about the way that Caserta operates, both throughout our implementation projects, but also our assessment projects, is what we call our technical advisory committee. And our technical advisory committee is for every project that we do. We assemble the best experts that we've got in our firm to advise the engagement team that would be working with you. So you get to tap the entire collective knowledge and collective wisdom of our company, and that means bringing people like Aileen, who might be engaged in another project, along into your world and your project to understand where your business problems are, and to learn from the experiences of delivering both other projects, but also learnings from other industries and other verticals, and that's the kind of knowledge that we bring and contributes to the production of our reference architectures and our assessment documentation.
All right, thank you, Brent. And if anyone needs help validating their assumptions or crafting their roadmaps, or even perhaps just an independent third-party look at the assumptions that you have come up with, please reach out to me. I'll be emailing all of you with a follow-up with a recording of the presentation, and you're encouraged to reply with any questions and next steps. Again, thank you all for coming today, and I'm excited to see you at the next webinar. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.